Okay, well, welcome to the August package office hour. And I thank you, Ethan and Tim. I think you just made comments on the issue for the office hour. Uh, yeah, so a few MRs from Ethan particularly that we can look at. And then Tim, I guess, do you want to start with the other topics that you listed there, or how do you want to organize
Yeah,
the meeting? Yeah.
I think I have a few topics that are probably quick discussions and more
Yeah.
just letting people know what we're working on and soliciting feedback in some cases. I could share my screen for just a minute. I'm going to look at the issue. Oops. There we go. Okay. Okay, so a few issues that I thought were worth mentioning is we are working on, from a front end perspective, on, I guess redesign is a strong word. We're adding a lot of polish to the package registry UI, and we have a bunch of issues that are linked in this epic here. So this is a good opportunity for feedback and also for contribution because there's a bunch of issues here that can be worked on. Just to give a quick overview of some of the changes that I'm excited about. You could see that we're changing the current UI, which looks like this, where we have all of the metadata in this sort of two-column table, into something that's going to look more like here. So we're going to prioritize the history and how the package has changed over time, just to give you an idea of what's changed and why. You'll be able to dig into any specific commits or pipelines and link to them if it was built using CI/CD. We move the install commands down, but they're still super visible, and I think that's okay. And then we have this additional metadata here, like where's the source project located, as well as any license information if it's included. There's a bunch of other changes here as well, but that's kind of the one that I'm most excited for. So if you're interested in the front end aspect of the package stage, this is a great epic to jump into and give feedback or potentially contribute. The other thing is, I'm not, this might be worth mentioning. This is another community contribution that's in progress. And basically what we're doing here is validating the package versions. So each package manager has a different sort of enforcement of how they handle versioning. So right now we have added in validation for Maven, NPM, NuGet, and Conan, and I know we're working on PyPI now. So a potential option for contribution is maybe working on Composer, adding in some validation. So that's another one that's a potential option. And then for people that use the package stage regularly, we're actually looking to do some user research or solution validation, we would call it. This would be a meeting with our product designer, Ian, and basically you are given a task and you have to go through an example user interface and try to accomplish those tasks. This is a really good way of giving us feedback on our designs and also another way of contributing. So if you are interested in this, you can reach out to me at trizzy@gitlab.com and we'd be happy to schedule something. And then finally, I'm breezing through these quickly. We have an issue scheduled for this milestone to prevent duplicate packages from being uploaded, specifically focusing on Maven, PyPI, and NuGet. If you have any concerns about that, if people are worried about, I want to for some reason upload duplicates, the exception is Maven snapshots. We would like to allow duplicates of those, but this is another opportunity if you have an opinion on that to chime in. Okay, that was my 5-minute version of just some ideas. Any questions, or we can move on to some of the Openmrs?
Just a quick comment. I'm going to write it down, write a comment on the issue too. So if there are any issues that are still left open, like it's probably worth highlighting for the hackathon in about a month. So I'll reach out to you, Tim. We might want to, yeah, we'll see what the issues are, and then if there are any work that's worth highlighting, I'll open an issue for a hackathon. We'll make sure that these get highlighted too. So.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, so the hackathon, just to promote it, is on September.
2nd and 3rd. Yeah, I'm looking at my calendar. So it's about
Okay,
a month from now. So
cool. I think we can have a nice mixture of front end and Rails issues as well for that. So we can,
cool.
well, we could start promoting that basically in the middle of August, I think.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay. I guess I should let Ethan and the developers talk. That's enough of me. So should we should we jump into the Openmrs?
So the MRs I listed, there's not a whole lot to necessarily talk about. I think those are just ones that, those are the main Go MRs. I've been working on Giddily MRs, and I think the last one should be merged soon once I make a couple of changes. So that will allow, this isn't necessarily one of the ones that's listed on there, but with the Giddily changes, that will allow me to move all of the archive generation out of GitLab proper, out of the Ruby application. So with with a relatively small MR, all of the archive generation could be pushed into Giddily. And then on the other list, there's, those, I basically just listed out the MRs, the active Go MRs. And I think those are waiting for feedback from developers. The one that you mentioned, Tim, that one I responded to David's comment and then forgot to ping him. So I just noticed that today.
One thing on the 3 Openmrs, I see that they are a bit behind master, and we recently moved several files from EE to core because package features are were moved to core. So you might want to rebase that and check if your changes are touching any EE file they might have moved.
Yeah, I can certainly do that.
The other issue I linked in there wasn't related to the Go proxy, but it was the unified auth MVC. I think it was adding authentication options for Conan.
Mm-hmm.
What's the
I mean, so it's reworking the authentication for packages in general. Conan is just the one that I started working on first. That might not be a good choice, but it's the first step of creating a unified system for managing custom authentication for the package managers.
Okay, that's cool. Conan's a good place to start.
So here, the context we have here is that we have many package managers that have several ways to authenticate, and basically every time we will need to support different types of tokens. So you can imagine that as a table where you have how do you send the tokens? Are you using basic OAuth, OAuth, or a custom HTTP header? And what kind of tokens you are using, like personal access tokens, deploy, job tokens, CI tokens. And all the intersections are the support we need to implement for package managers API. And the issue is that right now, the authentication part for the API is kind of a small mess, I guess. It's a giant file with functions. That's it. It's not properly organized. So the idea here is to just for the package APIs to reorganize the authentication part so that it's easier to use. I think we are clear that we can solve that in a single line, which means that people that will add a new API will be able to describe their authentication needs in one line and they will be supported. And well, then you have to code what this line is doing. So that's the whole point of this MR. So the thing with this MR is that it's using some advanced stuff of Ruby, such as meta programming. And I don't think we need that here because this single line, it's doing like two steps. The first step is to locate the token. Where is it? Is it a basic auth? Is it a OAuth? What is it? You have to locate it and read it. That's it. The second step is the value that you just read. You need to find the proper token. If it is a job token, you need to load it. If it is a personal access token, you need to load it. And those two parts can be just two sets of functions that you chain, and that's it. And these two parts could be living in a common place. We can call it the package authentication code or whatever. And so that all the existing APIs can use them in whatever fashion they want, and new ones can use them too, or even add new ways to authenticate. Well, not new ways, but new functions for each step. Is there a new, I don't know, let me think about a new way to authenticate. A new header, no, a new parameter perhaps, that could be possible. And in the other side of the problem, it's the token types. Perhaps one day we need to support group token type or something like that. And this would be just the second column. And here this MR, it's using, well, it's based on the API developers will implement their own set of functions. And I don't think that's a good way to achieve that. We should have everything together shared by all the APIs. And if something is missing, you just add it to the authentication pool of functions if you want. Is that clear, or I'm too technical?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely followed that, and I did respond to some of your comments, but again, I forgot to ping you. I just wanted to say to everyone, I posted a link to the epic that has a lot of the discussion on it, some of where we've been talking about this. And David, one of the questions I had was, so you were describing, possibly as the future and, not necessarily in this MR, having a adapter pattern with credential locator and user finders. How would you envision those? So presumably there would need to be a hash somewhere that associates the different symbols with a concrete implementation to do the task for that symbol. How are you envisioning that hash getting built? So something like the mount command, that there's the API file that has all the mount this, mount that.
No, it would be something local and something static. So you just have a fixed hash to all the classes that then you can instantiate. But I think I don't want to go too deeper in the adapter pattern, since we are initiating quite massive refactoring. And first, I would just work with a set of functions.
Okay.
And I would support all the package managers. And actually, we have an issue for Nugget where we do have to support the job token. So that's another thing we will need to support. And once we have everyone supported and the code is stable, kind of, we can think about how we can improve things, because these two sets of functions, I guess they will grow quite large. So that's expected. So how do you split them or organize them in a clean way so that you don't repeat the same mess as auth.rb, which is the file for authentication in APIs, and it's just a giant bag of functions. To that, you can just take each function and embed it in its own class. And then the authentication code will just load all the classes, and given the parameters or the config that the user will pass you, you just load the class, instantiate it, and just call the execute or whatever function you need. And each class will do its own job. Like let's say that we need to read authentication tokens from basic auth. We can have a basic auth token locator, and its job will be just that: read the basic auth and return it. If there is nothing, you just return nil. If there is a value, you just return the value, or perhaps better, a hash structure. But before that, I would just work with two sets of functions and implement all the package managers that we have. And then we revisit this authentication refactoring and think about simplifying it or reorganizing it. But I don't think it's a good idea to try to tackle all the objectives at once. You just start really, really simple, and you just iterate on it, iterate. And when the thing is going out of the reasonable bounds, I guess, you just think about how can you refactor it so it's splitted or it's better organized.
I like to keep the final solution in mind so that what I build is more, is partway there, so it's not a huge problem to change it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that, but don't attach too much don't attach too much interest or priority on that, because that's the word of refactoring. If you have a function and you need it to split it in 3 classes and 4 functions, you can do it. And it's better to start simple, since we don't know what kind of things we will need to support. And actually, Conan is one that have an not exotic, but custom thing, because it's using a personal access token that is encoded in JWT. So it's already custom, but well, we can support it. And once you have all the custom things and we support all the package managers, then you can start thinking, okay, so perhaps I need 2 classes, 3, and 10, I don't know. But if you if you focus too much on the final destination, you might be doing things that you will not need them in the future. And that's a kind of a code trap. You want to support everything, but the better strategy is to support what you need right now. And then when you supported everything, you just refactor it, and that's it. And this way you are sure that you are not creating things that will be not used in future. And actually it's also less energy to spend, oh, what the future will look like. You just don't care. You just implement what you need today and that's it. Then you have time to go and eat a cookie.
Or pet a cat.
So the two solutions I see here, so one of them is the DMR, and we implement a simpler approach. That's one solution. Or the second one is this nugget issue that we have. I don't remember for which milestone it's planned. I'm not sure if it is 13.
I think it's 13.3. I think it's this one.
Of course.
Yeah. I'll pull up the issue now.
The current issue. So the second solution would be us to add like a skeleton for Nugget, a simplified skeleton, and then you would have to update the MR to adapt the skeleton to Conan.
So I was thinking of starting a separate MR and copying over some of the stuff to, sorry, there's cat chewing on things. So I was thinking of copying over some of the implementation and starting with one of the simpler ones and then marking the current MR, well, renaming it to something Conan and marking it work in progress. So, you know, doing the initial work, the initial MR for one of the ones that just uses basic auth.
Yeah, that's why I suggested, I suggested Nugget because it's a basic auth for all the requests and it's quite simple. But also I knew that this issue to add support for the job token was there. So we would have it on any coming milestone. Well, it happens that it's the current one. But yeah, Nugget works. There is also PyPI. I think it's also only basic auth. You can check I think I did a small analysis for this on the issue. And yeah, I think you're better off starting with one that has only not a token location, a request location for the tokens and a token type. So you would have these two sets with just one function and that's it. But this way you can take time to build the skeleton or all the files you need. By the way, that's a good find, the namespace thing, so that we can have different ways to authenticate in different namespaces. Well, Grape API namespaces. That's a really good find. And having that, this MR can be then merged, and then we just iterate on it and start adding more functions on these two sets. And to me, Conan should be kind of in the middle or the last one, because there is this personal access token encoded in JWT, which is custom to Conan, but we can add it as a token type. It's a JWT path token. And I'm lost. I had something to say and I don't recall it. Yeah, the Conan would be the last. Well, anyway, that's a good idea to start with some package manager that has a simpler authentication scheme.
Anything else we should talk about on that topic? No. I think I wanted to leave Nico some time. He was going to go over some options for contributing to the container registry. Nico, do you want to walk us through that quick?
Yeah, sure. So recently we recognized that the container registry code was a little bit too monolithic, too much crump in the same file. And so we took a strategy to actually split it in pieces and with the aim of easing community contribution. The idea is that we have now a pattern of smart component, dumb component. I'm going to screen share in a second and show some stuff. And so UI is directly regulated by dumb component, which just receive props and emit events. And then there are smart component on top of them that do some orchestration and attachment, attaching to the state manager. I'm going to screen share so I can show what I'm talking about. Screen one, yes. So this is the gitlab.com repo. They are master, so it's fine. Scroll. Registry. Here we go. So mainly it's the Explorer thing. So Explorer is a pure view router single page application on its own inside GitLab, and so basically the pages are what we call our smart component. They will connect to UX in this form, for example, and then instantiate a whole lot of dumb components that will receive props and emit events. And so the corresponding component here are this one, for example. This is what we call a dumb component. It doesn't do anything that presenting some HTML and do some interaction for the user. And why this approach? This actually had a little bit of boilerplating and redundancy, but why this is good is first of all, it's much easier to test. Everything is isolated. All these components have very strong unit tests around them. So any community contribution, any single contribution that touches them, it's safe in its own bubble. And so we are sure when we go to review them that as long as the API described in the test of the component is respected, there is no change moving around. Second, it's easier to test them because the whole adding the UX and stuff adds a lot of complexity to the test and the boilerplating that needs to be done. And third, it favors parallel work because since every piece of UI is encapsulated in one single separated component, every single change is probably a different file, most likely different file, unless it's one of the coordinator, and it's easy to go in parallel on this. Actually, this is there since a while. And we already had some community contributor that found it quite easy to enter and modify the files. So I think this is already performing well enough. Any question? I guess no.
Thanks, Nico. That was awesome. Any other topics we should cover before we break?
Yeah, I think we had another community member online for a while, but it looks like that person's dropped off, unfortunately. Didn't have a chance to welcome that person, but oh well. Hopefully wasn't bored or anything with the conversation, but I was thinking maybe we could have done a better job of like screen sharing like MRs when we're discussing it, but oh well. So we'll do better next time.
I was just going to ask if there is, so beyond the MRs that are you know, a few thousand commits out of date with, or beyond the fact that there are a few thousand commits out of date with master, was there anything on any of those MRs maybe that you noticed that is worth discussing or that I should address other than the out of dateness?
Um, well, I will need to get over them again. I had some time off, and well, coming back, I had some nice things waiting for me. So I was a bit busy the last few weeks. I will need, I guess I will get over them and ping you if I see anything. But I saw some that were already reviewed by Gigi,
Hmm.
and perhaps he didn't get the ping. So
I'll update those and then ping you.
yeah, perhaps if you rebase those, you can ping Gigi again, and if that doesn't work, you can, well, I'm not sure it's appropriate, but you can use we created a Slack channel, I guess, for the Go proxy. You can ping GG or directly there, but he should be receiving the pings,
Okay.
and
Well,
I will get over them to see if I see anything worth discussing.
all right.
Haley or Joam, anything to add on about the container registry?
Not really. There is still some work to be done regarding the documentation and tooling to make it easy to the community to contribute. But with the work that we have in hands right now, it's difficult to tackle those.
A lot of exciting changes coming though. We're enabling zero downtime garbage collection and a lot of other changes. So I think maybe more towards early next year, we'll have a really good story for contributing to that code.
Yeah, the garbage collection database stuff is so enmeshed with the you have to really take in a lot of the logic of the container registry. I think we do have one issue comes to mind, and it's not the most interesting thing maybe, but it is something that would be nice to have, is that the option parsing logic for storage drivers is all separate, and every storage driver does it differently, but they're all doing the same thing. So that would be a good it's a good issue just to like look at the code, be familiar with the project, and like just clean something up. But that's something that's at the front of my mind.
Can you share that issue in the chat?
Yes, I can. Slack chat or Zoom chat?
Here, Zoom chat's good, and then I'll post it in the issue as well. Ray, anything to add?
No, I think. I mean, thanks for all the discussions. I guess for the next one, we'll just do it on the day one of the hackathon on September 2nd. I think 9 a.m. Pacific time works. It's been working pretty well, so I'll pencil that in and add it to the schedule.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, looking forward to the hackathon.
Yeah. I'll follow up with the issues too before that, so we can advertise the issues that we want to highlight. So.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone. This was awesome.
All right. Thanks everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.